Mr. Jamieson, how you doing?
Boy, we jumped right in. Recording in progress. Let's go.
We you've done this before. Are we cool to record?
Yeah, of course, man.
All right. All right. Well,
Nothing's off limit.
my name's Kevin. Nice to meet you, man.
You as well. I just saw that you actually sent the interview questions to my publicist.
Yes.
I prefer to go off the cuff.
Nice. I like that. I totally support that.
Yeah.
I went off the cuff once and I pissed off someone before, but I think your sense of humor is going to be just fine here, Mr. Denim and Laughter here right now on I Ask No One, man. I got to throw on my rings. I forgot to put on my rings, which include a little cool 72 seasons ring here. Yeah, but
Very nice.
Buffalo, New York. You've been to Buffalo, New York before, Don?
Many times. Yeah. I
Okay.
was uh, I was there about 4 months ago. I opened for Jack Russell's Great White up there at the name of the venue is escaping me now, but yeah, I get up there. I get up there once or twice a year.
Okay. And next time you come around, I gotta bring you some Buffalo stuff. But the City of Good Neighbors, always happy to have you. Welcome to I Ask No One. You've always got something fun going on. And before we get into it, just wanted to acknowledge that today, March the 28th, back in 1981, the number one song in America was Rapture by Blondie. That was on the fifth Blondie record, Auto American. That song came on the radio. I don't own that record. I don't own the song, but I purchased it because I think purchasing your music and purchasing your, what you take in is really, really important. Do you remember when that record came out in 81?
I do, and I agree with you 100% on buying physical product. Now, our scene lends itself to that, right? Hard rock and metal, very visual. If you're into death metal, like I am, super visual. So I agree with that. I do remember Blondie, the Rapture. That's sort of she kind of raps in that, right? Isn't that song? The
Yeah.
actual the
Yeah. So there's a
Rapture.
little hip hop at the end there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was big. That was, early MTV days and all that. Of course, MTV just turned like 45 or something like that. And I loved all the memes that were going around, happy 45th birthday, MTV. Thank you for 14 great years of music.
That's funny. It's so true. That is so true. Well, yeah, 81, it was the number one song in the world, but the year before that was 1980. And if you're a metalhead, I think 1980 was just the biggest year ever. That's when Blondie had released that record. But there was a record which is the namesake of Nikki and her PR company, British Steel. The British Steel record came out. And today's quote is from Rob Halford before we get into it. He said, I didn't pass my driving test until I was 38. So I didn't know that. And did you take until you were 38 to pass your driving test, Don?
I didn't know. I did not. Well, but I also wasn't, touring the world on, luxury airlines and tour buses and things like that. But Rob was. So I'm glad he got it eventually. But no, I'm an old school guy, man. I came up in the generations like you took your driver's test on your 17th birthday and not a day later than that, because that was our freedom. We didn't have all the Ubers and all of the things you kids have now these days.
Yeah, that's true. We got it good. No paper maps. You just plug in the GPS and by magic, it pops on your car. It's just too easy, man.
The best.
Too is easy. So when I'm road tripping for concerts versus you guys back one with all the getting lost and shit. But during one of those road trips, Don, I went to Yankee Stadium, and in fact, I got this shirt there in September of 2011, and that was a really special time. It was me and my twin brother and some friends, and we're walking around, and we bumped into you guys. It was you, Eddie Trunk, and Jim Florentine. That was the last time I saw you. Your hair is a little longer now, which you're fucking rocking. But yeah, do you remember anything from that show? I mean, that was killer that it actually happened.
I remember everything from that show, and I saw the one also in Indio, California. So Yeah, the thing, the memory that sticks out the most for me was, so I watched the last couple of Metallica songs literally from the side of standing on the side of the stage, which was, completely mind blowing. But, at the end, they had all those Metallica beach balls that they were kicking out to the crowd. And, a lot of bands do it and, they hit them around. Well, Metallica's were, they had the Metallica logo on it and it said Yankee Stadium, the Big Four, and the date on it. And as they finished the last song, just this one lone beach ball came back up onto the stage and it was like boof, boof, boof. And it landed about 5 feet away from me. But between me and that beach ball was Metallica's bodyguard at the time. His name's Tommy. And he looks like the Crusher from the Bugs Bunny cartoon. I mean, it's just his neck muscles like bulged out like a package of hot dogs. I mean, the guy's a complete solid piece of rock. And so I was just sort of like, Tommy, could I get that? And he goes, oh yeah, sure. And he stepped to the side and he let me go out on the stage and get the beach ball. And is part of the decor of my home to this day. So and also seeing Randy Johnson, the ex-baseball player, in the crowd taking photos. And I didn't realize he was a photographer because I'm looking, I go, this guy's like standing way above the audience. I'm like, who is this 6'10" photographer? And then as he got closer, I said, I think that's Randy Johnson. And it was. And so got to hang with him a little too. But the whole thing was spectacular. And who knows, maybe they'll do more.
Yeah, yeah. Now that Slayer announced some reunion shows, wow, it was crazy to see that. I mean, we'll take it. More Slayer, fuck yes. And you got Kerry King's solo project. But it's funny you mentioned Randy Johnson because just a few years later, I mean, that year I traveled 12,000 miles from Metallica, and it just so happened to be the 30th anniversary shows that he was taking pictures at. And yeah, great Yankee Stadium story. Do you have that ball deflated? Do you play with that ball inflated?
No, no, it's a piece of the decor. So, it's I see it every day, and it reminds me of that. And those concerts, not only were they obviously tremendous concerts, they were important for our scene. To get your big four of thrash. Some people might have their own version of the big four, but that's pretty much the four most incredible thrash bands of our time. All get up and do their thing, and everybody just crushing it was amazing. And getting to see Jeff Hanneman play a few songs for Slayer, that was special too, because we didn't realize at the time we were going to lose him, but those shows were special to me for that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Indio Big Four, I was there too. Got a meet and greet with the guys. It was insane. But yeah, Jeff Hanneman came through, and at the end of the Slayer set, he had his long sleeve shirt sleeve off, and you could see the spider bite and whatever was happening to his arm. It was one of the most metal things that I've ever seen. And yeah, for the scene itself, thrash metal for all four of those bands, absolutely killer. I know you're from that neck of the woods there, so had to mention that. Um, Lars and James, you have any funny stories of Lars from that particular show or even from back when?
Well, the funny stories are from the Metallica Orion Fest in Atlantic City. I'm not sure if you were at that,
Yes.
but I played there with Jim Florentine and Jim Breuer. They did a comedy stage there. And, as if it's not nerve wracking enough to go up in front of thousands of Metallica fans at about 4 p.m. People have been drinking, for approximately 8 hours at that point, standing, not seated like a comedy club. And I'm standing on the side of the stage and I'm trying to keep myself calm. And a golf cart pulls up and Lars pops out. He's like, "Hey, Don, how you doing?" I go, "Good." I go, "What are you doing here?" I didn't want anybody from Metallica. What if I bomb? I don't want the guys from Metallica seeing me bomb. They handpicked us to be part of the festival. So he goes, "Oh, I'm going to introduce you to the crowd." I'm like, "Oh, geez." So now I'm twice as nervous. He goes up, and it worked out great because he said a lot of nice things, and he said, we love that metal show, and so he got people focused, and then he brought me out, and I don't think I took a breath for about 12 minutes because I was just like, I got to come out swinging with this crowd. And I did a joke, and I was having a good set, but I was just on automatic pilot, and all of a sudden it got this big laugh and then a huge applause. So finally, I get a chance to take my first breath. I got to do 25 minutes, so I'm only halfway through. Take a deep breath, but then I'm going, wait a minute. That joke was not that good that it deserved that huge of an applause afterwards. And I could see people looking over to my right, and I turned, and Hetfield had walked on the side of the stage and was sitting on a speaker. And I'm like, oh, that was for him. All right, fuck you guys, you know. But
Oh
um,
shit.
and we all got a good laugh from that. And I finished the set, and James, as you know, being a massive Metallica fan, he's a man of very few words. So when he says something, he means it. And when I walked off stage, he put his hand out and he said, "Now we know comedy works at our festival." And that means more to me than Lars is the talker in the band, which I love. Somebody's got to be the talking head. But when James says something, man, it really resonates.
Yeah, I could tell that meant a lot to you. Wow, how special is that? Fucking cool. It's crazy to think that that was 12 years ago in 2012. And that was the Orion Festival. They did it one more time in Detroit the next year. They were talking about maybe doing one in Europe, but I don't know, maybe it'll come back. But we have Don Jamieson here, comedian, metalhead, a man of many trades, and you got the No Sleep Till McSorley's coming out April the 19th. So that's what I gather your fifth record. And I loaded up some of the track names. Just wanted to share some track names for our viewers that stood out to me. The one, the only Phil Campbell introduces the record, which is damn cool, you know. Born to Lose, Live to Win, RIP Lemmy. What a tribute to Lemmy we're about to hear in April, right? And I heard Lemmy's pretty funny too. So Drunk Christmas, Vagina Candle, Phony Celebrities, Orgasm Marathon, OnlyFans, Pregnant Men, Pronouns, New Trainee, Nipples, and there's a track in there. There's a track on there, Faith in Rock and Roll, and Music is the Healer. And isn't it ever? Music is an absolute healer. If you could just tell us what the motivation is behind this new record and what you're most excited about with it.
Yeah, thanks, man. It comes out April 19th. I, the music thing, yeah, the music portion of the album is the happy ending of the album, which I love because I talk about everything as you could hear from some of the track titles. I get into all the crazy stuff going on in society these days. The phonies in Hollywood, the political division, racism, all that stuff. But at the end, we don't put our faith in Hollywood. We don't put our faith in politics. We put our faith in rock and roll. And I love ending the album that way because it's so important and it's so true. Music. Glenn Hughes, he says that all the time, and it always stuck in my mind. That music. He always says, "Music is the healer." And it's so true. So I love that it heals the whole album at the end. I'm proud that I'm still making records for Metal Blade, which is a dream come true. Obviously, I could have never imagined being on a label that has been a part of my DNA since I was a teenager. And of course, the tribute to Motörhead, having Phil Campbell do the guitar intro and outro, let Motörhead's management let me use the No Sleep Till Hammersmith artwork, the font, the Motörhead font, and all that stuff was all those things combined make this one special for me.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trip for me personally to be sitting here in my home office. I'm in real estate, so taking that hat off and metal is a healer. It's a lifestyle. We're a very passionate bunch. We do buy the physical copies. You get these vinyls and these splattered vinyls that come out here and there. But yeah, I feel that. You're talking about James Hetfield and you're getting praise from him, and you got Phil Campbell of Motörhead on your own creation, and you grew up, I take it, listening to metal. I mean, that's Metal Blade Records and Brian Slagel. He was on I Ask No One previously. That's just got to be kind of pinch me moments, right? I mean, it's just that metal show you had your heroes coming on for years. It's got to feel pretty good.
Dude, I do. And even though, Phil's become a friend over the years, he's still Phil fucking Campbell from Motörhead. When anybody in the rock world has become a friend, but I'm still in awe of their talent. I'm still that 14-year-old kid. Like I said, I'm grateful for their friendships. I remember, my fellow comedian and co-host on that metal show, Jim Florentine, met Brian Slagel first. And he was telling me, he goes, I met Brian Slagel from Metal Blade. He's going to send me some Iron Maiden bootlegs. And I was jealous, like he was dating a hot chick that I was in love with. That's how much of a hero Brian Slagel even was of mine, because I had bought the Metal Massacre LPs when I was, a teenager and all that stuff. And obviously I've listened to tons of Metal Blade bands my whole life and still do. So yeah, man, all those connections that I've made over the years. And of course, I feel ashamed that it took me 5 albums to do a parody or a tribute to Motörhead, because of all my heroes in the rock and metal world, Lemmy is number one.
Wow, no kidding. He seems to be the number one for a lot of people out there. I admit, 2003 for me was the summer sanitarium. I was 15 years old up in Toronto for my first time, seeing those fist bumps in the air at the same time. And just, I compared it to like a hockey playoff game, Buffalo Sabres, against the Penguins, just the raw, I was bit then. And I never really got into Motörhead until a little bit later. Scott Ian, at Lemmy's funeral, they had recordings and they had different musicians coming up on the altar just to share their piece about Lemmy. And the one thing that stood out to me, and I became a Motörhead fan then, was Scott Ian described John Lennon taught you how to write. And he said someone else, I forget who, maybe Walt Disney taught you how to create or something. Lemmy taught you how to be real. So for him to say that, wow, what's one word that you would use to describe Lemmy?
One word, legend. If I only have one word, it's legend. But it does tie into Scott really nails it, and I think that's what always appealed to me about Lemmy, was like, this is a guy who always had so much integrity. When we interviewed him the first time for that metal show, we did a thing called Motor Myths. So, there's been all these urban legends about Motörhead over the years. And one of them was, I said, Lem, is it true that if someone pays you $1,000, you'll play on their album? And he said, no. If I want to play on someone's album, I'll play on it. If I don't, there's no amount of money in the world that will make me do it. I said, God, this guy, he thinks exactly like me. Like, I'm not driven by money. I'm not driven by a lot of the things most people are. And I always identified with things like that with him over the years, things in his lyrics, things he said in interviews. They just always struck me as like, yeah, this is this kind of stuff I believe too. So that I was somehow in some way on the same wavelength as Lemmy was always amazing to me. And then to get to know him, the last handful of years of his life was really incredible.
Yeah, the outpouring of just love. At the time, I was towards the end of my LA stint. I was living in Los Angeles for 2 years and San Diego for 2 years before that. So when he passed, the whole Sunset Strip was just stripped down to just one big fat giant tribute to Lemmy Kilmister, Motörhead. In particular, the Whiskey had that Metal Allegiance show. If you were there, being down front for those guys to go and perform, and just amazing. And then he had his ashes put into bullets, and the Rainbow Bar and Girls going to be honoring him soon, putting some ashes near his statue or something like that.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, Lemmy.
Yeah, no, it's true. I was at his 70th birthday party at the Whiskey a couple of weeks before he passed, and I was so glad that I was invited to that and went to that. Because I had one last time to, talk with him and wish him a happy birthday. And but yeah, Motörhead will continue to be a huge part of my life.
Yeah, No Sleep Till McSorley's is the record that's coming out April the 19th. Don Jamieson's comedy metal record. Can't wait to check that out. I'll include a link below where you could pre-save it, pre-add it, order it, the physical copy. But yeah, he came out on a walking stick in the Shrine Auditorium there, and uh, it was crazy. I actually just shared this story. I got a shirt at that date, and I was having some really bad dental problems, and it was a hot day in LA. I had the tour shirt on for my, to pump me up for this operation. And I'm sitting in the chair, my body sticks to this fucking chair, and I get to go out and it sticks to the chair. All the tour dates are on this dentist back of the chair. And I went back a few months later, it was still there. So
That's awesome.
you know. But yeah, we have Don Jamieson here. I'm also a volunteer and on the board of directors with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And in fact, right from here, I'm actually presenting to the Buffalo Psychiatry School to a bunch of third year students. And part of my thing with I Ask No One is for every new subscriber, I donate $10 to my own personal campaign. So if you like what you've seen so far, a little like or subscribe, always appreciated. Um, and mental health is not out of the ordinary for the music and the metal scene, isn't it? Between Chester Bennington's passing and Chris Cornell and Taylor Hawkins. The list absolutely goes on. But my question to you, and I was looking forward to asking you this actually, this is the question I was looking forward to asking you the most. How important is laughing in 2024?
Yeah, well, more important than ever, I got to say, man. Comedy. We live in such a hypersensitive world, so I love that people are still coming out to see comedy. The people who are the triggered type, they stay home now. So I actually find the crowds to be even a lot better than they used to be. And I think people, we're in a crazy time, and I talk about all of it on my album. But yeah, man, even in good economic times, people, people have to pick and choose what their entertainment is. That's usually the first thing that goes, right? Is, hey, I don't have the money, I can't go see this band or this comedian, and that's a shame. So when people come out, I want to give them the best show I possibly can. I know people work hard and they don't want somebody up there just yelling and screaming and lecturing them. They want to come and laugh, man. So that's what it's all about for me. Or like I do. It's like I just want to go and rock the fuck out, and that was God during COVID. That was the thing I missed the most. Like, you have all this pent up aggression and anger, and everything was, very upsetting. But if I had a show to go to, I could get some of that out of me, but we didn't. So, I think performing now in 2024 and making people laugh is just super important.
Yeah, it really is. And, I had my own struggles in 2016, and I just so happened to go see Jason Newsted play the Chophouse Band out in California in Mill Valley and Santa Cruz. And I was actually like hanging out with him after one of the shows, and I asked him what his key to happiness was. And he said, Kevin, repel, without flinching, repel. And that's my license plate outside, repel. And he went through each and every single letter: read, eat, play, exercise, laugh. That's what you make people do, which is awesome. And love. Because when you laugh, you get those juices go. This is exactly what he said. When you laugh every day, you get those juices going in your mind, and you see more clear, and it's you can't beat it. You can't replace it. Um, Me personally, man, I'll throw on, your name on YouTube or go watch an old that metal show, and just seeing you, and in particular you and Jim talk to each other. You guys always you made it okay for me to be a metalhead and to like really own it and talk about it. And if I'm not a country fan, fuck it, I'm not a country fan. Fuck country, My wife, she's a giant country fan. So whenever she's driving, you get the country music going on. But I remember Jim Florentine and you, in particular, Jim, he's like, oh yeah, fuck country. I don't listen to that shit. And I was like, oh, well, that's fucking funny. Chris Farley or Jim Carrey, who would you prefer?
Oh boy, but that's like trying to pick between Metallica and Megadeth. I guess Jim Carrey because unfortunately for Farley, his career wasn't very long, but both amazing in their own way. I'll probably have to go Jim Carrey on that one.
Yeah, Jim Carrey. It is tough. Metallica and Megadeth, huh? Those are the competing bands for you.
You get that one a lot, obviously there's still that underlying rivalry with Mustaine. So that and those two bands get compared a lot, but you could do Priest, Maiden. I mean, there's a bunch you could do that work. But they're all pretty close.
Yeah, yeah. As far as comedians go, who are some of your, I'm sure you've been asked this millions of times. In fact, I think I saw you answers that. But Saturday Night Live, like what comedians stand out to you that maybe you pull from as far as like energy goes?
I mean, my energy is more just my own thing. It's just from being on stage and trying to develop some kind of presentation. When I go out on the road and I open for rock bands, I got to really come with a lot of energy because I'm technically an opening band. So I try to give that kind of a show to the crowd. In the comedy clubs, I can take it down a notch. People are seated, they're having a reasonable amount of drinks. And so I can adjust my energy for that. But SNL wasn't, there was great performers over the years. Jim Breuer's obviously a friend. Gilbert Gottfried, was one of my favorite comics ever. He had a run on there for a while. I actually worked with Andy Dick and Chris Kattan a few times over the years, also Will Ferrell. So yeah, I mean, all those cats had their own energy, and have their own energy. So I don't sort of take anything from them, but they do something that I can't do, which is impressions and characters and sketch comedy. Those are not my strong suit. So I respect that they can do that.
How would you describe your own brand of comedy?
I just yell at the audience.
Just you yell at the audience. So when you're opening for Jack Russell's Great White, how was that tour in particular? And was there anything, I don't know, different that you pulled out of your bag of tricks for that one?
I think just in general, with a rock band, like I said, you got to come out swinging for the fences. They're standing there, they're sort of expecting another band to play. I still have some recognition factor with the crowd, which is nice. So it's not so weird that I'm out there, but I've built a whole direct support act just to open for rock bands. And so I keep it in that family of music, musicians, bands. I'm not up there talking about, having kids or, my, growing up, my family, none of that stuff. When I open for a band, I'm talking about, Alice Cooper and Deep Purple and Motörhead and Metallica and all that stuff. So I started doing it so much. I'm like, well, I better write a lot more stuff. And I do some of my regular nightclub act, but in front of the rock crowd, you can get a little bit deeper, which is fun.
Yeah, Jim Breuer, he opened up for Metallica on their was it Hardwired? It was the Hardwired record. And that was funny to see him and his the bags under his eyes and doing his thing up there. And yeah, I think it's really, really comedians coming out as an opening act. I think keep doing it, keep doing it. It's fun. It's fun as shit. It's a nice warm up. And you talk about concerts being back, and I was just at KK's Priest, LA Guns, Burning Witches, last week or something, and I saw you were at that same show just afterwards.
Yeah.
But metal is back, and I promise next time you come through Buffalo, I'm gonna come see you. I'm gonna keep my ears open. You have any other upcoming tour dates with the new record coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much, every weekend I'm on the road doing something somewhere. So, yeah, people could follow me on my social media, I'm on Facebook and Instagram and X. And I put all my dates up there, and yeah, I hope I'll be back up in Buffalo soon. And I feel ashamed. I've been to Buffalo so many times, and I've not caught a Sabres game there. So I have to right that wrong, because I'm a huge hockey fan, and whenever I go to a city, that's the first thing I do is check the schedule. So when I come up there, we got to go catch a game.
Yeah. Oh man, I'd be honored. Holy shit. I saw you at a game with, it was a football game with Kerry King and who was that? There's someone
Brian
else.
Slagel.
Brian Slagel, who we were just talking about. Yeah. Dude, love the Sabres. Those are guys were my first rock stars. The posters up on my wall was Dominic Hasek and Pat LaFontaine and so on. Which arenas have you not been to in the North America?
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch, but between baseball, football, and hockey, I've been to quite a few. And yeah, that game that I went to with Carrey and Brian was the first time I was at that Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, and that was pretty impressive, man. And when you hang with legends like that, the staff there takes very good care of you. They at halftime they took us to they have a speakeasy, a private speakeasy in the middle of the arena, and they let us kind of come in there and hang out for a while, which was really fun. But cool to see a football game there for sure. And they have live bands. A live band plays instead of just cranking music. They actually have a live band that plays where you would normally hear a DJ.
No way. No way. So
Yeah.
it's in between whistles, you get some metal band or just whoever wants to play.
They play everything. And what was funny is if there's, special guests in the crowd, they'll play, they'll play one of their songs. So with Kerry being there, and this is Vegas. So these are people, they're in tuxedos. It's very show busy, and they have a million instruments, they have cellos and things like that. And so when we were in the speakeasy and we looked up on the screen and they put up, Slayer, South of Heaven, and just watching, people with cellos and violins playing South of Heaven was pretty entertaining.
Wow, it sounds it. This is one of my newest ornaments for the South of Heaven anniversary. This was on the website. Kind of
Nice.
cool, huh?
Did
Yeah.
you get did you get the Slayer? There's they have a meat like a cattle prod thing for when you're grilling your steak. You can you can put the Slayer logo that has the pentagram like that into it. So you got to look into that.
I saw that. I saw that. I'm purchasing a little too much merch for my wife these days, so I gotta I gotta decrease that. But no, I would love something like that. Bands are getting really creative these days, and they have to be because records and CDs, I mean, they haven't been, as far as I hear, and Spotify streams, no, the artists, the people that are actually creating the content that we are absorbing are not getting enough money. They got to get creative, maybe a podcast or go out and perform shows or what have you. Alice in Chains for the Devil Put Dinosaurs here, 10-year anniversary, had cookie cutters of different, you can make Alice in Chains cookies, and I got those over there too. So fucking killer, man. Yeah, you describe you hanging out with Brian Slagel and Kerry King, guys that semi worshipped back when are now your friends.
Still
Um,
do.
yeah, see, I like that too, because you guys are close, but you still whatever they're creating, it's nothing, it's no different, and that's you're passionate enough about it. Bron Daler, Randy Blythe, the Duplantier brothers, they know us as the twins, and we're always down front. And those guys, I went to Bill's game the past few seasons. Bron Daler and Troy Sanders, and Troy brought his son, and Bron brought his now fiance. Fuck yeah, Bron. And we watched the Bills game together, and that was, we got the Gojira tour manager Taylor Bingley there. It's just like it's crazy how I was just sharing this with Per2 from Apocalyptica a few days ago, who worshiped and still worship Metallica, but they've made a career out of, things that they're passionate enough about, and they're now, friends with them. Same thing with Tobias Forge or Ghost with Metallica guys. When that positive mental attitude and you're really doing things that you're passionate enough about, And I could relate to that, man. And why we're talking right now, I'm passionate enough about metal and love what you do. You've brought a lot of joy to my life for many years, along with many others. And you know, Don Jameson right here, right now, has got that record coming out April 19th. No Sleep Till McSorley's. I've been to McSorley's twice. I think there was some like there was a light fixture with some, I don't know, ammo or guns from the Civil War or something. Why McSorley's? You enjoy it there?
Yeah, I've been going there for 30 years. And when it came time to record the album, I'm like, I should just do it here, you know? So I asked the owner, you know, how much to rent the place out for the night. And she goes, "You've been coming here 30 years?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, you paid enough." So I was grateful that they let me take over the place, and we recorded 2 shows and made, I think, a great album out of it. And it's just that, yeah, it's a historic place. You know, there'll be a video component of it coming out, so you'll be able to see the visual, the all the New York history that's on the walls there. But yeah, opened in 1863. Abe Lincoln actually sat and drank at McSorley's, and they still have his chair there. So it's pretty wild, you know. It's just a historic place, but I love it because it's like it's modern social media. You know, they have these big old wood tables, you know, sawdust on the floor, real old school. They only have McSorley's ale, light and dark. That's it. There's no other booze. There's no wine. Um, and you just sit at these tables. And if you're with 3 buddies and there's 6 seats open at the table, they'll bring other people and sit them right sit them down next to you. Use your words, Don. And next thing you know, you're sitting there drinking and you're making best friends with people from Canada, and you're planning on going to Norway the next summer. And it's just, you know, that's real social media, not the stuff that we do on the phone. And that's what I loved about it. And, you know, this album is for beer drinkers and Hellraisers. So it was the perfect place.
Yeah, it sounds like it for beer drinkers, for hellraisers, and for people that appreciate the arts of conversation, right? It's becoming
Yes.
a lost art, and it's something that Randy Blythe of Lamb of God and me and my twin brother, we interviewed him. We had a chat, we had a conversation with him. It's one of the things we were talking about was, I mean, I'm a millennial, and so is my wife, and you know, some of the stuff that I see, and just people on a bike path walking like this, you know, it's just craziness, but to have the back and forth is great.
Yeah. And Randy, it's the few people. Randy is hilarious, by the way. So I don't know if it comes out in interviews a lot, but he is he's really one of the funniest musicians out there. And you know, grateful for, you know, him and his band, the Duplantis, who you mentioned, and Troy and Braun and those guys, because that's, you know, those guys have now come in as the next wave of metal and have been just, you know, crushing it and paving the way now for another wave of metal bands. So you know, just all goodness in the scene, man, and good people, as which is my favorite thing about it is, you know, we got great bands, but we got even better people.
Wow, yeah, I appreciate that. And you know, Gojira just announced a tour with Korn. I mean, Korn's got their Legion, and that's maybe 10, 20 years before, you know, the Gojiras and the Mastodon, the Lamb of God, and the Trivium, that new age of metal. Hey, Metallica, they're going to be around maybe another 15 years, 20 years tops. And you think about it often, who's gonna take that to the next level? Sevenfold, they're on arenas. I just saw him in Buffalo. That was fun. But it's funny you mentioned Randy Blythe being funny because he totally is. I got one of his photos right over there. I'll include a link below to some of his work. What a killer eye he's got for photography and different things
Yeah.
like that. Who are the 2 funniest musicians that you've met?
Oh boy. I mean, Lemmy, definitely. Lemmy always had, you know, just great off the cuff responses. And Lemmy actually turned me on to some British comedy over the years. Before he was Arthur in this country, Dudley Moore was part of a comedy team in England in the 70s called Derek and Clive. And Lemmy turned me on to them, and it's just such outrageous stuff, and super funny. So I'll put Lemmy there, and then OZZY. You know, he's like the Rodney Dangerfield of metal. You know, he always has a great one-liner. And so I know sometimes both those guys are sometimes hard to understand because they mumble a little bit, but you know, when they get on a roll, man, they really are. They're like seasoned pros at comedy. You know, they can just come up with stuff off the cuff. But you know, those are the first two that stick out to me.
Good answers. I like those. So true. So true. Ozzy, bless that guy. I think about him a lot these days, actually. Um, you know, the Prince of Darkness and a bit of Head Off the Bird and whatever. And there's going to be some people that who watch our conversation right now. That's immediately what they think of with Ozzy Osbourne. But God, he's still alive. I think when it comes time for him to pass in another 50 or 60 years, uh, that it's going to be like John Lennon level. Because what an impact he's had on all of us, right?
Yeah, it's like you said before, it's all about the passion, and that's why if you're a performer, that's where it all comes from. It comes from the passion of doing it, and I mean, you can see Ozzy says it in almost every interview he does. I just want to do. I just want to get out there one last time to say goodbye, but I can't. I just can't. But I really want to, and that's passion. That's not, you know, Sharon pushing him out on stage when he can't do it anymore. That's Ozzy saying, I want to do it one more time, one last time for the fans, for myself. I hope he can do it one more time, but if he can't, he owes us nothing. He's given us everything he's had, and every fan knows that.
Yeah, that is so true. Ozzy unfortunately had to pull out of the Power Trip Festival from last year. Who better to replace him than the almighty Judas Priest? And Rob Halford's falsetto at 70 plus years old, he still fucking has it. Um, I just got to say, Louder Than Life 2024 or 2021, excuse me, was my first time I saw Judas Priest. And holy shit, you know what happened to Richie Faulkner after Painkiller? Painkiller! You know, with his heart. Wow, you know. Future guest on I Ask No One, by the way, Richie Faulkner and Judas Priest. Invincible Shields records out. They're out touring. Glenn Tipton's making the occasional appearance. Holy shit. You know, you talk about British Steel. Just before connecting with you, Don, I was blasting Metal Gods, and I forgot how much I love that song. That's a good song.
Well,
But
I don't think it's been out of the set list since British Steel came out. So do you know how important it is to them, and it's become their identity. But I'm looking forward to hearing a lot of the new songs because the new record is really good, and thankfully Richie pulled through, and is still out there kicking ass, man. And I know he's a big part of why they've changed the set list up over the years, and pulled out a lot of the old Priest classics. So, you know, thank you, Richie, for that. And I remember meeting Richie in England when he was playing with Steve Harris's daughter. He played with Lauren Harris's band, and when he got the gig in Priest, I didn't recognize the name, and they were playing in Jersey, and I was with Eddie Trunk, and he said that Richie Faulkner wants you to come back to the dressing room to say hi, and I'm like, why? He goes, I don't know. He just told me to tell you that. I said, okay. And then when I walked in, I saw him. I went, oh my God, Lauren Harris band. That's you. Holy shit. I go, well, this is quite a step up for you, isn't it? And he goes, yeah, this has been amazing. And, you know, obviously him being a Priest fan from him being a kid, he probably, like we do, we still pinch ourselves that he's part of that band and a huge part of it now. So awesome.
yeah, they've really embraced the shit out of him. That's amazing. We have Don Jamieson here with the new record, No Sleep Till McSorley's, a little play on the No Sleep Till Hammersmith record, Motörhead. And yeah, that metal show is how I, and along with a lot of us metalheads, were introduced, you know, to you as a creative. And when I was in LA, I was in film and TV work, and I was part of a reality TV show called Player Gets Played. and if you look hard enough, you'll find some more on it. It was me and 4 girls. And I'm telling each of these girls that you're my one and only, you're my one and only year. And we're going on dates and they all turn on me. They find out that I'm dating around and they turn on me. So it was up to me to just be the center of attention and that character. And it was a great experience filming all over the place. But one of the cameramen gave me this, and he was
Yeah.
a very, very big fan of yours. And I forget his name, but maybe you recognize, maybe you don't. Um, but he drove a
Uncle.
Tesla. Yeah, he drove a Tesla and he came to work in sweats. But I've never worn this. I just wanted to put this on. I think it's very appropriate.
We were lucky, man. I mean, obviously, I got to hang with two of my best friends and talk about music. But yeah, when you want to talk about the crew that we had, they were amazing because they a lot of people work for way less than they usually get paid because they wanted to work on the show, and we were super grateful for that. So for our tiny little VH1 Classic budget, we got network level cameramen and editors and directors and things like that. So that really helped. Obviously, it's always about the team, and we had a great one.
Yeah, it came through in the television sets back when there were big boxy television sets. That metal show was on VH1 Classic. And you guys, well, before I get there, there's a friend of mine. His name's Jordan. He goes to the Whiskey A Go Go pretty much every show. He's a big, dark skin, long hair. He looks like a WWE wrestler. And he has met you. And Mike Lane, his buddy, has met you. Jordan was asking if you were to be in charge of that metal show, which two guys would you choose as your co-hosts if you were to do it all over again?
Well, no, it's the same guys because obviously that's in some weird way that worked. The chemistry between us, our different personalities. That's really what got us the gig, which was when we went in for the meeting about it, the people that were working at VH1, they of course they knew rock and metal, but they didn't know it like we did. But we just spent the whole time in the meeting breaking each other's balls. And that's what they really liked. They liked the chemistry between the three of us. They're like, hey, we don't know metal like you do, but that doesn't matter because you guys will handle that. We just like the way you guys are with each other. So that's really how the show got picked up, because they did like that chemistry. So, I don't know how would I replace those guys.
Awesome. Yeah. So you three ball busters, you're still doing it, right? You have That Rocks show. If you could just tell our viewers about that, because I'm just learning about that
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, that rocks on YouTube, and it's Jim and Eddie and I, and we're doing it digitally now, but we created some new segments that I think people like. We couldn't bring over the same segments from that metal show, so we created some new ones, but the basis of it is, an interview with a rock or metal artist. So for people who haven't checked it out, I think there's about 25 episodes up there right now, and we have like 7 more that are scheduled to go. And like I said, over on YouTube at That Rocks.
There it is. Yeah, I'll include a link below in the description to that. And again, we have Don Jameson here of That Rock Show, and soon to be on April 19th, the new record. Sully Erna of Godsmack was asked a question recently in an interview, and he really liked it, and I liked it too. What are your career, what are the 3 most rewarding moments that you have?
Well, I talked about one of them, playing Metallica's Orion Fest, because and knowing those guys, and you being such a big fan, and having a little insight into that world, they are hands-on with everything. They don't just slap their name on anything. So to be picked to perform at their festival is an amazing honor. Performing on the Howard Stern show and making Howard laugh was a huge moment for me. And and opening for Andrew Dice Clay, who's my comedy idol. You know, I did about 10 years on the road with Dice, and you know, that's like that's going to comedy university on steroids, opening for him. So, you know, to me, to open for the biggest, a guy who was the biggest comic in the world, to be on the radio show with the biggest radio performer of all time, and to have done the festival of the biggest metal band of all time, that's probably the three I would pick.
Fist bump to you for that. Oh, yeah, man. That's great. I like that.
And still nobody knows who the hell I am.
Well, we'll get a little closer there with going worldwide with this episode 105 on I Ask No One, and which is funny, 105. You have your fifth upcoming record coming out, I gather, right?
Yes, and I've made $10 on all the other ones, so that's
All right.
105.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, 105. You got the fifth record coming out. Jim Florentine and you do this terrorizing telemarketers thing. If you could just fill us in on that, because I connect with that. You know, it's this is something that I used to prank call, maybe still do occasionally for fun. But where did that start?
You know, boredom. You know, like, but then the light finally goes on. I'm like, we should record some of these calls, and we did, and we have 7 volumes of terrorizing telemarketer CDs out there, and you can stream them and all that stuff. And yeah, they're just, you know, they're all incoming. It's telemarketers calling in, and nobody likes telemarketers. You know, they are all scammers. They all pretend to be your best friend, and we expose the scum that they really are. And probably if I had to pick a fourth, you know, highlight in my career, it's our last Terrorizing Telemarketers went. It was the #1 comedy album in the country. So, you know, 2 guys in their 50s making prank calls for a living. God bless America.
Hey, God bless America, indeed. That's funny, man. These are incoming calls, and these are actual real calls then.
Yeah, no, it's not scripted at all. And we generally never even know what we're going to say because we don't know what they're going to say. So, you know, sometimes we'll come up with a loose outline of what maybe we can do, but you know, you got to see where it goes. And he and I are so kind of locked in comedically that I can kind of tell where he's going to go. He could tell where I'm going to go. So, you know, there's a lot of that on there as well. And that's what led to Crank Anchors, which was a huge break for Jim, which was awesome. So.
Crank Anchors, yeah. If you could just share to our viewers about that with Jim Florentine, your co-host on that rock show.
Yeah, and that metal show, and he was Special Ed and Bobby Fletcher on Crank Anchors, and I'll never forget when he told me, he goes, "Yeah, it's you know, Corolla and Kimmel, and they're gonna do prank calls with puppets," and I think we both said this is either gonna be the worst thing ever or it's gonna be one of the best things ever, and it was really great. And I know they just did some new episodes. I think it's a little toned down nowadays, but yeah, some of those calls were pretty outrageous, and I did a couple as well over the years. But Jim's characters were real breakout characters for him. So you know, you never know when you start this thing. Again, it starts with the passion to do it and to think like he's gonna, you know, play a mentally challenged puppet on television, or we're gonna, you know, sit in a room and talk to the greatest rock and metal artists of all time. I never could have predicted that. So that's the beauty of what we do. Is it's a journey, man. You just enjoy it, and I'm grateful. Like I said, this is my 5th album with Metal Blade. To even be associated with them is such an honor, and we'll see where the journey goes.
Yes, it is a journey. Thanks for sharing that. You guys are the modern Jerky Boys, it sounds like. You ever see that show, the movie?
Yeah, I saw the movie, and we're both big fans of the Jerky Boys, and we know Kamal. And whenever we used to run into him, he'd always be like, goes, "You guys are good, but don't forget who the king is." And we're like, yeah, absolutely. You know, the Jerky Boys came before us, and those guys are legendary. So, you know, it's during the pandemic, I was, like a lot of people, I started doing a lot of spring cleaning, and I found a huge box of comedy CDs that I hadn't listened to in years, and all the Jerky Boys CDs were in there. And I spent about a week listening to all of them, and they're still so funny.
Yeah, they are. First thing that comes to mind is that drive-through scene where the guy's talking, and then the face is talking, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got hemorrhoids all over my neck, ass, and shit," and he's trying to take an order. Never gets old. Then here
Absolutely.
comes the hot dog in your accent, downstate.
Yeah, yeah.
Never gets old. But yeah, man. No Sleep Till McSorley's April the 19th. We have Easter this weekend. And any fun plans for you and your family for this Easter weekend, Don?
Well, we're going to be counting the millions that are coming in after this interview airing, and people downloading my album. And if you want a physical copy, you could come see me live, and I'll have CDs. And later in the summer, I'll have vinyl as well, which I'm excited about. So no, just going to perform this weekend like I usually do, and have some dinner with family, and blessed to still have some family here in the area where I live in Jersey. And I hope you have a great Easter as well, and everybody out there. Thanks for supporting all these years. I'm grateful to still be doing this after 24 plus years, man. It's really, truly an honor, and to still have a one foot in the comedy world, one foot in the hard rock and metal world is truly a dream come true.
We're making the drive Saturday morning to New Jersey. So as soon as I see entering the Garden State, man, I'm gonna put some horns up for you and for this upcoming fucking record. Metal up your ass, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
We'll hit a Sabres game soon, and yeah, we definitely will do that. Duly noted. But to our viewers, if you enjoyed, again, a like, subscribe. It's really, really appreciated. I'll donate $10 right to the AFSP to my own personal campaign, approaching $12,000 there raised, and very, very special thing. So stay happy, stay healthy, stay hungry, and stay heavy. See you, Don.
Thanks again, Kev.
Thanks, brother.